Hi, I'm Allison. I live in North Liberty with my family. Married with kids. We've lived in the corridor since 2014. I thought I'd just give you an overview today of one of my businesses. I actually own two businesses. And this one is relatively new and it's AT Study Buddy. I'm a certified athletic trainer and a doctoral candidate completing my dissertation. I have a master's of education in health and kinesiology and an undergraduate degree in athletic training. So most people are a little confused when they hear the term athletic trainer. It's a little bit of a unknown. So athletic trainers are healthcare professionals who typically work with active populations. So if you saw the Damar Hamlin with the Buffalo Bills, that team was athletic trainers on the field. So multi-skilled, and we work in a lot of different settings. Prevention, evaluation, rehab. We're trained in CPR, manual therapy, recognition and treatment of concussion, cardiac arrest, heat stroke, cervical spine injuries, the like. And we work in a variety of different settings. So secondary schools, colleges, professional and amateur sports, hospital clinics, workplaces, Amazon, and a lot of airlines hire athletic trainers, the military, police and fire departments, performing arts. It really, reaches anywhere where people are active. Employment of athletic trainers is projected to grow significantly compared to other healthcare professions over the next 10 years. And there are about 30,000 athletic trainers currently practicing in the United States. So a smaller healthcare profession, but growing. But AT Study Buddy actually focuses on athletic training students. So currently in the United States, there's 287 accredited athletic training education programs. To become an athletic trainer, you actually have to graduate with a master's degree. And then you have to pass what is known as the Board of Certification exam to finish your clinical work. So you can kind of see the numbers over the past couple of years that the pass rates for this exam are slowly going down. So retake exams increased by 17.9% between 2019 and 2020. So what's the issue? The current study options for this exam are relatively outdated. You can buy expensive flashcards, you can use your textbooks, pen and paper exam books. This is actually the same exam book that I used. You have to go through and circle your answers and then flip to the back and then calculate your own score. You can do homemade flashcards, and then there are very limited online practice exams. They're not full exams, they're not timed, you don't get a review. And the actual exam is taken online, and it's 175 questions. The best exam that you can buy right now is only 140, so it's not even a full exam. So this is the solution that I came up with. So AT Study Buddy is an online platform. It's designed to help student athletic trainers prepare for their VOC exam. It's affordable, easy to use, accessible for today's tech-savvy students. It includes 7 full practice exams that mimic the real exam experience. Athletic training exams are divided into 5 domains of different areas of care. I also offer domain-specific exams. The ability to review your exam questions after you've taken the test and get a breakdown of your performance per domain, because each domain is weighted differently on the exam. And then you get feedback based on your time spent. It also includes over 160 different study guides, flashcards, games, all sorts of things to help students prepare. And these are just a few screenshots of what it looks like. So it mimics the exam pretty well if you've ever taken an online proctored exam where you can hop around to all your different questions, mark some for review, go back and forth. And then these are a few of the different games. So word searches, drag and drops, matching games, flashcards, fill in the blank flashcards, highlight and fill, more fill in the blanks, anatomy labeling, and then study outlines. So the target audience for AT Study Buddy is second-year athletic training students and then athletic training education programs. The sales model is that we sell individual student subscriptions and then group software licenses for athletic training education programs. We offer bulk discounts to universities, and a bonus is that the faculty members for the program actually get access to this group management dashboard where they can run reports on their student use and see how they're doing and how they're progressing through the platform. Our pricing is very reasonable. We offer 2 tiers. So we offer monthly and then semester. When we did our early beta testing, a lot of students said, I only want this semester that I'm going to be preparing for the exam. So we offer it month to month, or they can buy a 6-month package for what we call our semester. That is a one-time payment. Obviously, the month to month, they're paying a recurring fee. We offer an annual plan, but not many students are buying that. We may not offer it. So we did beta testing in spring 2021 with a very limited version of the website. 75% of the students passed the exam and 30% found the site extremely helpful, 40% found it helpful. We were able to kind of gauge our pricing and the features that students liked most during that first round of beta testing. 100% of students said they would recommend this platform to students that were studying for the POC exam. And then we were able to get breakdowns of how we were eventually going to price and offer the platform. So just a basic SWOT analysis. So our strengths are basically that we are first to market. No one else is doing this. No one else is doing it the way that we're doing it. And we have areas of growth. So sales. So we launched in fall of 2021. It was kind of a slow growth at first, but last year we did just shy of $33,000 in sales. And year to date is about, and this is just since January 1st, so $5,300-ish in sales. So we're on track to double what we made last year. So as mentioned, I was part of the Builders and Backers program, which was amazing. It provided a $5,000 Pebble Fund, which really, I believe, was a huge reason that we had the growth that we did in Q4 last year. I used the money from the Pebble Fund to do a marketing campaign through the National Athletic Trainers Association. They sent 2 emails on my behalf, and then there was an ad in their digital and print magazine that they sent to all members. Yeah. So just in Q4, we saw a 234% increase in sales. And a big part of that growth is we were able to bring on a lot more schools. So when I was initially doing Builders and Backers, I had 5 schools on board, and now I have 22. And this is a big area where we want to grow because these schools are going to continue to come back year over year versus having to market to individual students every single year. So potential earnings, and these are just rough estimates, depending on how many students sign up for the platform and then the number of athletic training programs that we have. And they're about spot on. So about 20 athletic training programs would bring in about $32,000 in sales, and then add in the individual student licenses. So there's a lot of opportunity for growth. And these are my reasonable 5-year projections for the platform, depending on how many students sign up. So this would be if 500 students signed up for the semester plan, and then we had 20 athletic training programs with roughly about 10 students per program. And that would be the projected revenue just from that in about 5 years. So a nice benefit is that our costs are extremely low. The platform is cheap to run. I have independent contractors that do all of my social media for me. So marketing costs are relatively low, and then just the basics of bookkeeping, tax prep, all of that. So there's a lot of profit in the business versus having a high overhead. And there's also a lot of opportunity for growth. A big request that we get is preceptor training. We're actually going to be launching that in about 2 weeks. So most healthcare professions have what they call clinical preceptors, where students will go and do job shadowing. So like nurses do this, athletic trainers do this, physicians do this. So we've developed a preceptor training program There are a couple out there, but they're very outdated and they're very boring. So we've made it a lot more interesting with a micro learning model where you're not just sitting there and listening to someone talk for 4 hours on a PowerPoint. There's a lot of different games that they can go through, short form videos that are about 2 to 5 minutes, and they can work their way through. There's also what's known as the orthopedic specialty exam, which is an additional exam that certified athletic trainers can take once they've been in the field for 5 years and then working in an orthopedic setting. So, for example, my husband is also an athletic trainer. He used to work at an orthopedic clinic. He would be a good candidate to sit for this exam. And this is strictly for athletic trainers that are working in that setting, that are assisting in surgeries, doing casting and bracing, and things like that. So we're developing an exam prep for that exam specifically. We also plan to offer continuing medical education in the future. Athletic trainers have to get 50 hours of continuing medical education every 2 years. We became certified to and accredited to offer continuing education. Our preceptor training program will be applicable for that. And then a big request that we get from our students and universities is soft skills training and career prep. Having crucial conversations, diversity and equity conversations, things that they don't really have curriculums for in healthcare professions just yet. They want it really packaged up nicely and kind of done for them, and that would be included in the package as an add-on. And so that's all I have. That was just kind of a nice overview of my business. Can answer any questions.
Question for you. One being, before you started, so you started this before the Builders Backer program. So I'm kind of curious of what that process was like for you, and have you been able to recoup your startup costs? And then the second one is how is your curriculum formed? Where do you pull your resources?
Yeah. So I call this my project. So it was a project that I knew I wanted to do for a long time. And finally kind of had the time to do it during the pandemic. I actually hired 2 other athletic trainers that were furloughed during the pandemic. Working moms, it's really important to me to give them opportunities to work remotely. Hired them to help me develop the curriculum and the exam questions. If you look at the actual board of certification exam, they actually have a list of all the references that they use to build the exam. So we pulled all of those together. A lot of them we had just from our time in school, and developed the exam from there. And worked collaboratively. It took about a year to put all of it together. And I would say the startup cost is that there really wasn't a lot of startup cost. A lot of it was just, time. The actual software is very expensive that I used to build this on. It really only cost me about out the door $500 a year to actually just run the site. So, like I said, the overhead for this is extremely low, which is why it's been so profitable. Yeah.
How frequently do you have to update the content then, and will that be an ongoing expense for you?
Yep. So one thing that the board of certification does is they update the content about every, it kind of varies. It actually just updated this past year. It updates slightly. So they reorganized the domains that I mentioned for the exam. So we had to go back and make sure that all of the questions were in alignment with the new domains. They didn't change much, but that was, something we had anticipated. We don't think it'll happen again for another 5 to 8 years. And I mean, the actual study games, anatomy doesn't change. So we don't have to update a lot of that stuff too often. We're constantly adding new stuff into there. We actually just added a CPR model in there that's actually like a choose your own adventure. So it starts with the scenario, and then you can choose the action that you're going to do next, and then it'll tell you if you kind of chose the right path when you're doing the CPR, and then it'll send you back and forward. Always adding new content into the site.
What's the software that you use to build this? If
It's
it's
on WordPress.
WordPress?
Oh, wow.
Have you identified like other underserved certification areas that you'd like to branch out into, or are you considering doing that?
Yep. Right now, I mean, this is still relatively young, so our focus is just on growing this. Just because if we were to branch out, everyone that's working on this is an athletic trainer, and so we kind of know the market quite a bit. There's other areas that we've considered going into, like exercise physiologists. There's different healthcare professions that a lot of athletic trainers move into that we could focus on. But right now, we're just focusing on growing this business.
Have you ever had anybody express interest in any instructor-led training or certification?
Sort of. So, when we do the continuing education, piece, probably later this year, we'll pull in people, to offer those, and it's a benefit to them. We can pay them an honorarium, but a nice, perk of, being a speaker for a course is that you get 10 CEUs for being a speaker. So a lot of people want to be speakers because it saves them a ton of money.
I was wondering if there were challenges like for the students to pay for the service, or if there were like barriers that prevented students from accessing your platform.
So it's been kind of interesting. I didn't expect this when we started to offer the education program model, is that a lot of the programs are actually putting the platform as their textbook fee. So they're saying that instead of purchasing this study book, like the old style, instead of buying this book, you're gonna pay for this platform. We give them a discount, but really we priced it, so it's about the price of a textbook.
What's the difference between a physical therapist and an athletic trainer? Are they kind of similar or things like?
They are, so athletic trainers, I kind of describe as if a nurse, a physical therapist, and a paramedic had a baby. So we're kind of good at a lot of those different things, but I wouldn't say we're like an expert in that. Physical therapists also cover, the broad range of ages where they, work with, geriatric patients, very, post-op patients. Where athletic trainers are primarily focused on active populations.
It's cool. You're continuing to add all sorts of content that's specifically for athletic trainers. Have you looked at any adjacent markets? Because I know there are all sorts of different allied health professionals. Are there any of them that you're thinking of moving into at any points, down the road?
Not right now.
Okay.
Have you ever considered an exit strategy, like HLT said, oh, this is great, we'd love to pull it under our umbrella?
I had a conversation with HLT probably about a year ago. They thought that if I were to have an exit, that it would be selling the content, not the platform. So selling test questions basically to them, everything already developed. I'd like to sell this eventually. Obviously, like you kind of saw the numbers, it's making money, but it's not, like changing money. But if we continue to add to it, it's a good business. So if someone did come along and want to purchase the content, I would.
What is the other business you run?
So I run a separate business doing sort of like a similar line of work. So I help other companies set up basically similar platforms and do instructional design.
How long, like, what did it look like to upscale, like to build the platform, and like how long did that take? And like, was that process difficult? And what did that, like, what were some of the challenges of that? Like, if that was new for you?
Like I said, it took about a year to put together the content. Really, I would say just the biggest, issue that we have is always just time. Everyone who works on this platform has a full-time job. It's kind of our side project that we've been building over the past couple of years. So that's kind of hindered growth a little bit. It's slow and steady growth, and we're really excited that it's really starting to take off, because we would consider the platform, kind of good to run, in that we feel really comfortable selling it to universities and, students right now. Right now, it's just continuing to add more and more every year and bring in more programs, as quickly as we can.
How do you make time for that sales process? With everybody in full-time jobs and then you're trying to connect with universities, how do you make that work?
Yep. So a lot of our marketing is done through social media, and through email. I do about one demo a week, for a university. Really, the time spent in sales is not too bad, because a lot of, program directors for the programs and clinical education coordinators, they see it and they just get it. The sales process isn't, taking us, multiple emails, multiple phone calls. They see it, they get it, they're all in. We offer a demo to them so they can actually go in on their own and kind of, touch it and see what it's like. And once they do, they're pretty much an easy sell. So the pricing is also, affordable compared to the other options that are out there. When I took the exam, the study books were $50 a piece, and then I got a flashcard set that was probably $100, and I had to incorporate all of them, and it was just such a process. So, having a tech ready, platform for students is a nice benefit to the university.
What platform is this best utilized on? Is it on laptop, on laptops and desktops, specifically, or can it be used on cell phones and iPads and things like that?
A little bit of both. And I do track this, because the platform that I use does have an option to create an app. I just haven't really felt the need to do it yet, because students aren't really asking for it. And when I look at the data, 85% of students are accessing the platform on their laptops. College students are on their laptops a little bit more than I think, a working professional who's just always on their phone. And the actual exam is taken on a computer. And so it makes sense to me that when they're going in and taking these practice exams, they're going to take it on their laptop. They're not going to take it on their phone.
How do the colleges use it? If they license it, do they make it available to the students? And then have the colleges that have licensed it, have they seen their pass rate for first time pass rate increase?
So to mention this, so we only have 1 year of data, but the pass rate is 95% for students. So it's really, really good. I think you saw the numbers that the national first time pass rate is, right now around 60%. So our numbers are much better than the national average. A lot of the programs are integrating the platform into their final semester curriculum, where they're saying, this week you're going to take this exam and go through these modules. And they're really making it a part of their, requirements for the students.
Has any significant competition emerged
No,
to your business?
I'm still the only one.
Is there anything that you have that can protect someone else from trying to do something
No,
similar?
it's not proprietary, but I think there is a benefit to being first to market. People know us and they're talking about us and they know who we are now. We're constantly adding new students all the time. Something that was interesting to me last year was that most students typically take this exam in March and April, but it's offered 4 times a year. And I kind of anticipated that sales would drop over the summer, but they didn't. They actually stayed steady for all 4 testing cycles. So that was kind of interesting to me to see that happen.
I was just wondering if there's anything you'd like to say about how you've expanded into the universities, or how you go about that, or if you're going to continue to, if you're going to continue to do that in the future.
Yep. So the Builders and Backers marketing campaign that I did sent a very dedicated email to anyone who was a National Athletic Trainers Association member. that had higher education marked on their profile. So it was a very directed email campaign that went out to them. I'm actually planning in my budget to do the same thing this year because it just works so well. So many universities came to us after that email went out. The timing of the email wasn't great with when I had to do the marketing campaign. And so a lot of organizations hadn't necessarily budgeted for the expense for the school year. Most programs make their budgets in March and April for the upcoming academic year. They run on a different fiscal year. So I have a lot of programs that are like, we're gonna be purchasing in August of this year. So I'm anticipating a lot more universities coming on this summer.
You seem very confident about what is what's like the magic? What is it that, what would you tell another entrepreneur that wants to start something like this?
Do something you're passionate about. I think I'm confident about it because I know this market. I am this market. I took this exam. You know, if you're not, you know, living and breathing it every day, then, you know, you're not necessarily, you know, going to be as passionate or, you know, as knowledgeable about it. You know, it's very easy for me to go through the sales process because I know who I'm talking to. I know what they want to hear. I know exactly what these students are going through and, you know, the issues that they have. So it's, you know, it's been kind of serendipitous how kind of like nicely it's gone.
Well, if there are no other questions, we always end with, how can we as a community support you?
I mean, if you have an athletic training program at your alma mater, send them my information. To add more universities. I just brought on Iowa State this week, so that was a nice home state win. So,
Do you have Iowa yet? University.
all
All right, I'm gonna be all right to fit in.
I don't know anyone, but right, you like the pen?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's give Allison another round of applause.